Hello, Eric and Kristin. How are you?
Very good. How are you?
Good. I'm so excited to be here today. We have yet another guest after the resounding success of Nancy last time. I think the people have spoken, and here we are. Eric, let's remind folks who we are, and then let's introduce our esteemed guest. I'm Libby Magliello. I help folks build better presentations. Eric, who are you?
I'm Eric Harris. I am the founder of Gather Round, and we help leaders tell better stories in their presentations.
And we have a guest. And this sounds like a very 1990s way to meet somebody, but Kristin and I met in the chat section of a webinar. Again, that feels very You've Got Mail 1990s, but became fast friends. Kristin, thank you so much for being here. We're so excited you're here. Can you tell us who you are and why Edna Mode comes up when you talk about yourself and the cartoon avatar version of yourself? Tell us who you are, where you're from, and what you do and all that jazz.
Well, I am the Edna Mode doppelganger. I've had people in checkout line say, "You look like," and I'll say Edna Mode, and they're like, "Yes." But a friendly, kind version of Edna Mode. So yeah, I'm the founder of Body Language Blueprints, and I've even brought this is my camera cup. So I look cool.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, so they can see your face when you drink.
Well, and it's just right. It's cool, right? So this is my screen cup. So yeah, I talk about body language and nonverbal cues. So, look at see, you need a camera cup.
I think that was wrong. Yes. Body language and nonverbal cues. I rudely interrupted.
Yeah. So I'm like Carrot Top. I feel like we are living in a comic book, and we are all walking around with speech bubbles over our heads. Okay. So I want to empower people to really be aware of how they're showing up, what their speech bubble is saying, and to be able to read the cues of other people. I'm on a mission to, I guess, make us all live in a comic book.
Very cool. Our first Carrot Top reference, which is so wonderful.
How are we this many episodes in without yet a reference to such a relevant human?
Right. Topical, relevant. He was in an episode of Hacks last year. I don't know if you've watched Hacks on HBO.
But yes. Okay, we need to unpack that. Yeah.
That's gonna be next episode. Okay, so this is coming from someone, myself and Eric, who do kind of weirdly niche things. This is also a very niche thing. So how did you even get down this career path? Because when I was at Career Day, there was not a body language and nonverbal cues option. So how did you get into this?
Well, I got into it. It was a self-help tool. This was what I needed. So as you mature, you realize how the dots connect. But for me, I'm just sort of going to layer this. Shy, awkward, insecure person. Always the one like, don't call at me, don't look at me. So that was me. Then going on to college, getting my degree in psychology, really interested in behavior, people, why they do what they do, all that kind of stuff. I get my job out of college and I work at a nonprofit with adults with developmental or intellectual disabilities, many of whom were nonverbal. So that ended up being this fantastic training ground without me even knowing it, because I was working, especially when I was doing direct care. I actually lived with 5 guys in a group home. And I like to say I worked with 7 ladies and 1 bathroom. That was something. I know.
It's a challenge.
But I realized that my observation skills were really helpful, because I could start picking up on when someone was getting upset or, frustrated. Turns out when you can pick up on that, you can actually intervene early and keep it from becoming it. So it started to become sort of like this superpower, and I was able to realize what staff had better skills, et cetera, which then led to the company asking me if I would do their training. And here's where it all started to click, is I thought I would love to do that, but I was terrified to stand in front of a group.
Interesting.
Right. So then when it became all about me, I got interested in really studying body language, because I needed to figure out how to do it, how to share this information. True story. My first day teaching, my icebreaker was, where would you rather be right now? So self-sabotaging.
Anywhere. Anywhere.
Right. I've grown since then. But when I really started to study the body language component, I really did see it change how I interacted. And my moment was, a couple of years into it, I had a colleague come in to get some supplies in the middle of a class. And when I was done, she came up to me and she said, "What are you doing? You had them in the palm of your hand." And I was like, "Oh, this is working." So there you go. That's the version, self-help.
That's very cool. And might I recommend, this is just a professional recommendation, I like to stick to kind of easier icebreakers, like how much do you weigh? How much money is in your bank account?
Little lighter, yeah.
You have a difficult relationship with your parents. It kind of eases this into it. So feel free to put those in your back pocket and any day.
Yeah.
Where would you rather be? That's very funny. Okay. You told me a story about a woman smoking in your job interview. And this was not 1964 on a Pan Am flight. This was actually in real life corporate America and everything. So tell us the smoking story and how that really cemented this idea of how we show up.
Well, not 1964, but it's back in time. We're going back in time. 1992. So think landlines, scrunchies, Whitney Houston, that's where we're at. Okay. So I go to this interview and I'm going to give you a visual here, but the interview was incredibly stressful because the person interviewing me just had this really deadpan face. So it was just this blank, expressionless look. And as you mentioned, not only was it deadpan, but it was 1992. So she smoked during the interview. How fun was that? Wow. So yeah, I will just say that was incredibly stressful. That's what I call social quicksand. So I just felt like I was like sinking and social. I was like, how am I doing? I don't know, because there was no cue. So that's what I call being cueless. Here, I'll give you another visual here. We're going into lecture mode, but it's when we don't get the cues and our brain is hardwired to read them. And so when it can't, it's really stressful. So have you had that where you're having a conversation with someone and you're trying to read their speech bubble and you're getting nothing?
Yes, it is very stressful because we are wired to look for those cues, and it's just, something, give me anything. How was your weekend? Fine.
Yeah.
Where do we go from here? There's nothing to dig into. Are you mad at me, or what's going on? It is incredibly stressful to not have anything that you can work off of and play off of, for sure.
And Kristin, is that not? That's a very relevant topic today. There's a lot of people talking about the Gen Z stare, right? That there's this blank look that they get when giving feedback or giving instructions to the youngest generation in the workforce. Have you heard people talk about that and how to deal with that?
I haven't. What?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, no.
Bring me up.
It's a trending topic on LinkedIn.
Oh my gosh. Okay. So the Gen Z is giving or receiving the blank stare?
Giving the blank stare in response to feedback.
Or even, Eric, I've seen this, and don't come at us, internet. We're just, if you're seeing it on LinkedIn, Eric, that means it was on TikTok 7 months ago. That's just
right.
how.
Oh yeah.
TikTok, and then Instagram, and then the front page of MSN, and then down over to. But some of the examples I've seen talked about are even in a customer service setting, when a Gen Zer is supposed to be the one initiating an interaction, there's just kind of this waiting, and it's more passivity in interactions. And some people attribute this to COVID, which I completely understand. Us spending really formative years inside and not with other people and communicating digitally and all that. So yes, I'm curious. Do you find any generational differences in body language or?
Well, sure. But okay, two quick things.
Yes.
Highly competent people tend to have less facial expressions. So I'm often coaching think engineer, banking, and like just more technical, buttoned up industries. I'm really stereotyping here, that you do need to give the cues. Otherwise we get stressed. So it is typically very simple. It's a head nod, It's a tilt. It's a smile. It's a it's a vocalization. Right? That can solve it. And actually, I worked. A fellow friend of mine said he learned early on in his career. He had someone brave enough to say, "You're kind of freaking the staff out." He was managing. And it was because when he listens, he's very focused and intent, and he wasn't giving like kind of the warmth cues.
Right.
So like literally all he does, he's still, so a way to, a lot of competent people, they'll kind of tense their lower lids when they're listening. This is like focus. So if I say, do you see that spider in the corner over there? You'll probably do this. It's because you can see more clearly. Right. Okay, Eric, that was really good. You did it really well.
Eric's
I'm learning here. Yeah. I'm so engrossed in this. Thank you.
So people that are really focused tend to do that. It's a sign that you're really focused. It can very easily tip over into suspicion.
Interesting.
And that kind of that judgment. So that is how he listens, because he's really focused, but he's also he'll do this. So he's giving some cues so our brain can kind of calm down. So
interesting.
So that, and then RBF, resting bothered face, right?
Resting bothered face. Okay.
It is real. So what RBF is when your face is in a relaxed state. It just means the corners of your mouth and sometimes your eyes turn downwards. I have it. So I'll try and demo it here. Okay. So if you just like, this is like you are not thinking about anything. Right. And then you'll get comments like, are you mad?
Right.
Are you okay? Right. Okay. That's the tip. So I noticed on Zoom, I was doing that quite a bit because I was actually really engaged in paying attention, but I wasn't giving cues.
Interesting.
So it's just a matter of then adding that in.
So this is so interesting to me because we're talking about body language on the part of a presenter and a speaker, but I honestly never thought about body language on the part of the audience and the recipient, and how do you give those cues on the other end, because we all know what it's like to stare at a group of folks who are getting nothing back from. But it's so interesting to hear you say that about the body language as just the recipient of the communication can contribute a lot to the success of the environment, which is super, super interesting.
But as a presenter, think about who you're more drawn to, the people that are like laughing and smiling. I mean, right. Yeah. Even because I was a nerd in college forever, but I remember some friends of mine, we would sit in the front row and we would do this and we would just see if we could get the instructor to talk to us. I'm that person. Yeah.
Right.
Yep.
So this person lives inside of you. Go ahead.
Kristin, I love this. Like, this is such great instruction, and just learning this on the fly is so cool. I'm curious too, if someone were to approach you and say, like, what are the top 3 must-dos, or like the fundamentals of great body language for a presenter? Like, what would you rattle off the cuff as, okay, if you can't check these 3 boxes, then we got to talk?
Okay. There's 3 kind of big ones that help me in my personal life, but certainly as a presenter. Number 1, don't block. So it's being high open. Don't be behind things. So I was the person, again, shy, insecure, who always had my arms crossed. I had a bag in front of me. I was always behind something because we don't have bones protecting our vital organs, like in here. So when we feel threatened, we tend to block with objects or behind things. The people that are viewed as the most friendly and open are the ones that have the open body language. So that was transformational for me, is to realize, if I'm more open, more people are going to approach me as opposed to this. From a presenter standpoint, standing behind a podium, and I maybe because I'm aware of it, but when someone stands behind a podium, I just slowly am dying. I'm like, how much longer? Right?
Yeah, it feels a little like a long church service, or like a maybe a funeral, or something that's a little more like, I don't know, serious.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a commencement speech.
Right. So it's a breath of fresh air when they step out. Now, I will say that as a presenter, you have to look at your notes sometimes. Fair. You can step out and then just go back and look at it. Like, no one's going to ding you for that. That's
Mm-hmm.
fine. But just, I would say, try to be more open to the audience because people can connect much better. So blocking.
Okay, blocking. Got
Trust indicators. So what part does your brain notice first when it sees someone? Like, what is it tracking?
The eyes.
Eyes, usually. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The spleen. I don't know.
At
I'm
least
just trying to hit every end.
Close, Libby, so close. You're
Is it close to the spleen? Okay.
Okay. Our brain. So yes, typically what I hear: eyes, smile, teeth, hair, clothes, shoes. Yes, and.
Okay.
But what your brain is really tracking and caring about are your hands, because hands are the trust indicator. This goes back to like cave people days. Is this person coming up over the horizon, a friend or a foe? Do they have a rock or a spear? Are they going to harm me? So think about it. Police officers say, put your hands up. This is like, show your intent.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So our brain cares about that. Now, we'll just try this. So if I talk the entire time and I kept my hands hidden, that starts to change the dynamic a little bit, right? Mm-hmm. And as a presenter, if I'm doing this, you'd be like, what's happening? Why is she having hands behind her back, right? It starts to get a little suspicious. You're like, what? Okay. And I can actually, if I do it long enough, I feel the change in my voice. I get softer. But then when I bring them out, you're like, okay, I can see her hands. Understanding that hands are a really important tool to build trust. So we need to see them. So get them out of your pockets. Don't hide them. And then use them to be a more effective communicator by, using gestures, using hand gestures. So I'm going to say that if I tied your hands at your sides, you'd have a hard time speaking, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Let's try it. I've got I've got some time.
Most speakers, we learn to use them, but yes. Leaders tend to be very specific. So, okay, why we use our hands, why you're doing this kind of stuff is it lightens your cognitive load. It makes it easier for you to explain. So even small children, you'll see them speaking with their hands. Mm-hmm. It's helping them process.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay. So it's a gift for us, but it's a gift for the other person because you're communicating on two levels. You're hearing it and you're also seeing it. Right. So it's like underlining, bolding, highlighting what you're saying.
Interesting.
Okay. So you saw what we did there, right?
Yes.
Two levels. Okay.
Got it. Trust indicators.
Oh, yeah. I'm with you for sure.
I'm taking notes over it.
Okay. Okay.
These are good things.
So think about, so strong communicators will say, there's 3 things we're going to cover today.
Right.
We're going to do this in steps. So they're not the person doing this. Mm-hmm. They're really being specific. We're going to make a few tweaks. There's this or this. Like they're breaking it up. They're helping you understand the message very powerfully. So anything you're saying on autopilot, I like to say, kind of use your hands with it. Like the restroom is down the hallway and to the right,
Right.
Because that's helping the other person get that information. But yeah, hands are okay. So let me demonstrate this. So let's look at the power of this. If I say, there is a lot we need to get through right now.
That feels so weird.
Right? You're like, what? I mean, so that just shows the power of the gesture. If I say, there's 3 main things I want to cover.
Right.
You're like, what? Yeah. So we default to nonverbal cues and body language when there's any kind of question. So when people are like, I'm really happy to be here today. You're like, no, you're not. Because we're reading the nonverbals, which is fake smile.
Right. Yeah. How much? So I can hear my students retorting to this and saying, well, I don't have the time to rehearse all my gestures and all of that. How much does this become second nature? Are there gestures that you can kind of pull out of your toolkit that it becomes more natural that when I say, we're going to tweak this or, a ton to cover or whatever, do these things become more natural the more that folks use them?
Yeah, I would just say start by getting your hands out of your pockets. Okay. That's step 1, because you realize you start using them, and it otherwise you are like a robot. Mm-hmm. We have 2 things we're going to cover today. So no, don't script that, but understand the power of it or what you might want to do there, especially when you're trying to explain concepts. I like it then to be like So you can do this or this, or there's 3 different ways we can look at this. Like you're kind of like that kind of stuff. You could rehearse that, but otherwise get your hands out of your pockets. I'm going to go in lecture mode here, but there is like a sweet spot. So, okay, I'm going to stand back. Strike zone. This is good. Keep them in here.
Right.
Outside of the strike zone, this is more energy. This is, there's something I want to tell you. Right. This is a little more, or there's, this is like, pay attention. Okay. And you can also drop your hands and keep them at your sides if you want to bring it down. Have people take a beat, kind of land in it. This is like trial lawyer stuff.
Interesting.
There's 3 pieces of evidence I want you to pay attention to. Then they drop their hands, they walk, they let that land, that's theater. But it's using it very effectively.
Yeah. You know what I also saw there was that I couldn't see your feet, but I could tell you kind of went into like an athletic stance. Like you were about to do some like Black Widow superhero action, right? You told us that we were in for something by just separating your stance a little bit and squaring off to the audience. Yeah.
Right. Which, okay. So that leads us to third.
Yes.
Look at my hand gestures. Fronting. Fronting is a way to show nonverbal respect. So that is facing your top, your torso, and your toes towards someone. So I'm fronting right now. Now, if I just shift my feet, that starts to change it a little bit. This is, I got to get going. I got to leave, right? So this is, I give my full attention. We feel this. I had a client once she was a professor. She was working on body language skills. And she said for 1 week, she was really focusing on fronting when she had conversations with students. And she said, I had several people ask me if I got my hair cut. We can't prove it, but she's like, I think they just felt the difference and they didn't know what it was.
Right. Okay. Top, torso, and toes towards. Okay. Okay.
Let me just apply that then to the virtual world because we have multiple screens.
Yes.
So fronting in the virtual world is often thrown off because I've got my information over here and you're here. My camera's over here. If you can't reconcile it, and sometimes you can't, but try really hard, at least own it and say in the conversation, I'm going to be looking at another computer screen that, but you have my full attention. For me, and hopefully I did that when I met with you, Libby, I have an iPad, so I'm looking down, but I'll say I'm taking notes, paying attention. So, and then when you're speaking, you're not speaking like this. Like I'm looking at my information.
Right.
I'm talking to you. I'm looking at the camera. That's eye contact.
Because and what I've noticed about you is that you very intentionally use your hand gestures and your camera is placed in a way that I can almost always see your hands on camera. And I assume that's intentional and it's something that I haven't thought about, but how do you think about body language in a completely virtual environment other than eye contact, which you mentioned?
A lot of it is parallel, but I will say in where we often go awry on the virtual calls, well, a couple things. But I like a stand desk because I can show more energy and I can use my hands. I am also literally, I'm at least I'm further than a hand, like an arm's length away, because that's what I would be in real life.
Okay.
So when you get on like phone stuff, that's in my space because I would not talk that close. That's when you start seeing up people's noses, or when people have a really, pardon me, but a really tight shot. You're like, oh my God, right? Like Eric, yeah,
right.
This is like talking to my parents on FaceTime.
Yes, exactly, right. Yes, my kids mock us, my husband and I too. They're like, oh my God, stop it. But so that's parallel. Like I need to have the same distance as I would in real life.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. I'm learning tons. If folks have questions, please pop those in the comments. Otherwise, we're just going to keep Kristin here for 3 hours and ask her 1 million things. This is no longer about educating anyone but myself anymore because I find all of this fascinating. Eric, do you have any? I have more questions, but I don't want to cut you off if you have anything urgent to ask Kristin.
Well, I do want to know a lot of these themes, like you used the word blocking, and that's a word that I'm familiar with because I was fortunate enough to be in theater when I was in high school. And, I learned a lot about performance art at that time. And some of that obviously applies to presentations and just, you know, the body language that we use in our corporate communications. What have you borrowed from performance art? Like, how does that apply in this context?
Tremendously. And that's where I think I was starting to tip into where my colleague was commenting, like, what are you doing? So this is being aware of the space. So things like leaning in to tell, like, this is, I'm getting in your space. So now I'm closer than one arm length, but this is cueing your brain. I have something to tell you. Like, so this is sort of engaging the audience. So like, okay, listen up, kids. Gather around. I'm telling you something. So leaning in, also using space to, so for me, when I'm learning and I'm practicing a presentation, I'm chunking it out. So I'm thinking, I'm talking about this concept when I'm over here. And then when I shift topics, that's when I can kind of walk. And then I'm going to plant and I'm going to talk about another thing here. So I can start to learn content, because you shouldn't memorize scripts, but like, here's this story. Here's this story. And I can walk and talk a little bit, but I want to kind of plant then and share the concept. So thinking about wherever you're presenting as a stage. And then also understanding that you can use it if you want to go next level. You can use it chronologically. So if I go back in time and I'm talking about 1992, and then I can come forward as I'm bringing you up to current speed. We read right to left. So just remember that from an audience perspective, I got to think this through. It's opposite. So if I'm talking about the past, that's the audience's left, but it's my right. So I will talk about 1992 and I'm over here. So so thinking about it that way, that's next level. You don't need to know that.
Stage left, stage right.
Right.
That type of a thing. I am curious. So my grad students have to get up and give presentations. Public speaking anxiety is something incredibly, incredibly common that I think the overwhelming majority of folks share. Something that feels very scary is eye contact in a room. And I've given them some tips, but I'd love to hear your thoughts on how do we approach something that is so important, but really intimidating when you're thinking about, how do I look all across the room? Do I make eye contact with every single person? Do I just find one friendly person? So what is your advice around eye contact, especially if we're already dealing with some nerves?
Yeah, that's one I kind of struggle with yet, but the figure 8 is one of the things you can do where you're trying to hit all, the back of the room, the other side of the room, the middle, that you're kind of hitting. And it doesn't have to be you can go whatever order, but like, I'm telling the story and I'm going to maybe focus on the back of the room there. And then I'm shifting and I'm going to talk to someone in the middle and then over here. So you're just kind of hitting all parts of the room.
Interesting.
With your stories. Yeah. Yeah. You've heard that?
I've never heard that. No, I'm learning. I'm filing all of this away. This is phenomenal. I have one more question I'm curious about. Something that I hear students, clients, lots of folks talk about. They say, I want to build my presence. And I think that that's kind of an amorphous thing. And Eric, I'm sure you have thoughts too, but what does that mean from your perspective? When we're talking about body language, nonverbal, if I want to go into an executive presentation and I want to have presence, what does that mean to you? What would your advice be?
Well, first of all, I'd be very aware of your first couple seconds. Like, walk in. So take your spot and you can actually kind of look around. And when you are doing that, you're acknowledging people, you're kind of greeting them. And then dive right in. Don't do this is presentation mode. Thank you so much for having me here today. I feel so honored to be invited. No, like, go right into, the year was 1992. What I mean, like, have something or have a way to grab attention immediately that gives you a little gravitas, and that you've planted. You walk to your spot and you're not pacing. You're standing there and you're delivering, and then you're starting to move, etc.
And I think that also signals confidence and ownership, and it puts everyone at ease because you feel like you're in good hands and with somebody who understands how to command the room and all of that. So when somebody takes charge, I feel like everyone else can sit back a little bit, which is nice as an audience member.
Yes.
We could talk to you forever. Eric, do you have any other things that we're forgetting to ask Kristin while we have her hostage on our LinkedIn Live?
I just have one more question, and I would love your thoughts on, we've asked you so many questions about presentations specifically, but does this apply outside of performing? Does this, how big is this world?
Oh my gosh. So my tip for people working on this is to kind of focus on one thing. Like, I'm going to really work on standing and planting and, kind of owning my power, owning my space, or I'm going to work on eye contact. We didn't get into the different ways we can do that. There are ways, but fronting. I'm going to work on fronting. Pick one thing and work on it. But this is just, you're doing it with family and friends, or you're telling a story with family and friends, and just start playing with it a little bit. Don't announce that you're doing it. Just start getting better at it. And you start to realize when people, you can just see them leaning in more, they're laughing more, you can see it work. And that's what I love about it, is I think when you treat people skills like a science, it takes the pressure off, because you're like, I'm going to just observe and I'm going to study and I'm going to figure it out. I'm going to try things. And then you get out of your head and you get into more of the experiment.
Oh, I love that. I love experimenting, especially on my family. That's where I'm going to start.
Yes. I think we have found the pull quote of the episode, which is, I love experimenting on my family. Wonderful. We're going to put that on all of our PR. Kristin, where can folks find you if they want to get on your newsletter or get some more tips or have you come and train them? Where can they find you?
I hang out on LinkedIn, and you can find my website is bodylanguageblueprints.com. You can learn more about me there. Those are my two, because I'm older. I'm a woman of a certain age. I'm not on all the things.
There are too many things to be on all the things. So I completely understand. Good for you. Kristin, thank you so much for coming on. I personally learned so much, and we can talk to you forever. This is super, super interesting. So thank you so much for your time and sharing your brain with us. We really appreciate it.
Well, I was chuffed to be here.
We were chuffed to have you. I definitely didn't have to look it up online when you both said that. So we were all very chuffed, very much. And that's not a food thing. It just means we're excited.
Yeah, and I'm totally using that word from now on. So thank you.
Well, thank you, everybody, for joining us. We will see you next time. Bye, everyone.
All right, bye.